Hey, friends, welcome to today's math lesson. Only, I don't know if it'll be a math lesson today because today's lesson is on writing. We're going to write algebraic expressions. By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to write an algebraic expression using one or more operation. So, yesterday, last lesson at least, you learned the main words, the main math words that means add, subtract, multiply, divide. Today we're going to add a few more to that so then we can kind of increase in the types of expressions we can translate. So get your pencil ready. The first word we're going to start out with is each, or H and per. Now each, if we're doing something with each and per, it could mean multiply. It could also mean divide. Okay, if something is shared equally, that definitely means that we are going to divide. Shared or even split. Something is shared evenly or split evenly, we're going to be dividing. So if we see that, we can translate it into a division sign. If we take something away, that means we're going to subtract. If it's asking us for the total, then we're going to add up and get the total amount. Or if we're combining amounts, we are going to add. Less than, fewer than, we've talked about. Subtracted from is obviously going to be a subtraction, correct? And then divided into. So we are going to focus today, or right now I want to focus on these right here because these are kind of special ones. These mean divide and subtract. And these are special things that I like to call turnaround words. So if you'll put them down in this box, less than, fewer than, subtracted from, and divided into. And I'll explain more about what turnaround words are in the next few slides. So I have some tips that help me translate words into math expressions. So this first sentence says 8 more than the quotient of y and 10. One of the first things that I want us to do today is circle those operation words that we have in those boxes. For example, in this one, we have more than, and we have the word quotient. This is a word for add, and quotient is a word for divide. So that's very helpful. And then if we have 2 or more circles, parentheses are going to be helpful to us. We want to find the quotient of y and 10. So the quotient part is going to be put together. We want 8 more than what? Well, 8 more than the quotient of this over here. So the quotient goes together and then we want 8 more than that. So now what I get to do is just kind of bring everything down. This says 8 more than, and then we're going to do a division, but we're going to divide what? Well, it tells us the quotient of y and 10. So the quotient of y and 10. And then we're going to find 8 more than that. So we're going to do the quotient and then do 8 more than that. We could write it like that, or we could write it like this, right? Because both of those mean division. So that's an example of what we're doing today. We're taking a word sentence and we're translating that into a numerical expression or an algebraic expression. Algebraic meaning we're using these y's because there's some type of unknown that we're unsure about. So let's practice. 4 times the sum of n and 30. So I want us to circle times. We know that that means we're going to multiply. And we know that sum means we're going to add. So this looks like it will be 4 times the sum of n and 30. And to make sure that we find the sum of n and 30, we're going to put that in parentheses. So we're finding the sum of n and 30 and then 4 times that. Now another little hint right here is if you multiply a variable by a number, you don't need the times or the dot sign. So technically this little sign right here, because it's a number being multiplied by parentheses or multiplied by a variable, we don't need. So more often than not, you're going to see it written like this. So this shows 4 times the sum of n and 30. 30 more than the product of 4 and y. More than is a word for plus, isn't it? Product is a word for times. Good. So 30 more than, product means times. What are we timesing? The product of 4 and y. So we could do that, or we could just go 4 times y. And if we want, we can do parentheses there to make sure that that's times first. And then, but because of order of operations, we already know we're going to multiply first. Either way, it is correct. This shows 30 more than the product of 4 and y. 9 less than the quotient. All right, so this less than is what I talked about earlier, is an example of a turnaround word. And the reason I call it a turnaround word is if I were just going to write 9 less than the quotient of n and 5, this actually doesn't show me 9 less than. It shows that I'm starting with 9 and then taking the quotient away. And that's not what less than means. Less than means I'm going to find the quotient and then get 9 less than that. So I need to do a minus 9 at the end. So because less than is what I call a turnaround word, what I like to do is I like to go like this, and kind of show that I'm going to flip the subtraction with the quotient. And instead of 9 less than being in front, I'm going to put it at the end. So this right here shows me a quotient, and then it shows me that I'm going to then find 9 less than that quotient. So that's how turnaround words work. We'll do some more in the future. The sum of 4 multiplied by a and 5, the sum of 4 multiplied by a and 5 multiplied by b. Ooh, this looks interesting. All right, so we have the sum of what? The sum means we're going to add and we're going to multiply two things together. Okay, so the sum of what? The sum of 4 multiplied by a. So there's 4 multiplied by a. And what's the other thing we're finding the sum of? 5 multiplied by b. Let's see if that makes sense when I read it. Does this show the sum of 4 multiplied by a and 5 multiplied by b? Yeah, that does. Cool. It's like you guys are bilingual, meaning it's like you have 2 languages. You can speak English, which is this, and you can speak math. And you can translate between the two. Woo woo, that's kind of cool. Oh, okay, double the quotient of d and 15. Where are the math words here? Quotient is definitely a math word, right? What about double? Isn't double a math? Yeah, it's on our box. Double means 2 times, doesn't it? So double the quotient of d and 15. Okay, so double means 2 times. What are we doubling? The quotient. So we're going to divide. What are we going to divide? D and 15. So let's make sure we get the quotient of d and 15, and then we will double that. So that's one way we could write it. You could also write it like this. Remember, we don't need that time sign if it's right up next to parentheses. You could even do it like this. 2 double the quotient of d and 15. Kind of cool, huh? Because that means quotient. Quotient means divide. Whoa. Okay. A number squared plus 4. A number squared? This isn't on our paper, is it? Maybe we should be plus 4. Okay. So what in the world is a number? It's like, why didn't it give us the number? Well, what's a variable? A variable is just a number that we don't know. So if it just says a number, but it doesn't tell us what number, that means we get to choose what number, or at least what variable to put in for that number. So a number squared is to the power of 2, isn't it? Okay, so a number squared plus 4. A number squared plus 4. Oh yeah, that's what that is. Huh, that's kind of a cool one. 6 times a number cubed. So 6 times a number cubed. Cubed is this, right? Okay, so 6 times, oh, there's that a number again. What should we use this time for a number? J I don't care what number you use, or that's not a number, that's a letter. I don't care what variable you use for a number. 6 times a number cubed. So you can write like this, or just this is what you'll see more often. Why? Because mathematicians are lazy. If we see a number in front of a variable, we just automatically know they're being times. 4 more than half a number. 4 more than means plus half of a number. That's half, right? How do we find half of something? We times it by half, don't we? Okay. So half of a number. What number are we going to choose now? What variable? Let's do t. Sure. So that's half of a number, and we want 4 more than half a number. So you could do that. You could do m. You could do l. You don't usually see L a lot because it kind of looks like the number 1. You could use any variable, though, to choose to be a number. All right, are you ready to try this on your own? I can give you another turnaround word. So maybe, no. Okay, let's do one more turnaround word just so I can help you out. Let's do a fewer than. So 7 fewer than 10. So if you have something like this, let's make it algebraic. Let's make it put a variable there. 7 fewer than m. Fewer than is, like I said, a turnaround word. So it means subtract, right? But it also is a turnaround. If I want 7 fewer than m, I'm going to first need m, and then to get fewer than m, I need m, and then I'll subtract by 7. So 7 fewer than m means I'm going to flop. So fewer than and less than are those big words that you'll see more than any of those other turnaround words. Just make sure that you kind of flip and make sure that the fewer than the subtraction for that goes at the very end, because it wants the total and then it wants fewer than that towards the end. All right, let's practice on your own. 8 minus the quotient of 2 and x. 8 minus the quotient of 2 and x, or 8 minus the quotient of 2 and x. Either one of those would show you 8 minus the quotient of 2 and x. Which expression shows add 7 to b? A, B, C, or D? It is add. That's an obvious word for you, huh? So we're going to add B and 7 together. Great job, guys. Go through the practice. Get this down. Be grateful that you don't have to add, subtract, multiply, and divide today. It's just kind of more of a language arts day. You're welcome. It's good to change things up every now and then, isn't it? See ya.